When she walks away, most men panic. They try to fix everything immediately, to force clarity, to chase answers. But what they don't realize is that the more you chase, the farther she moves. A woman rarely comes back because you begged her to. She comes back when your energy shifts, when your focus turns from her to yourself, when the man she once knew becomes someone entirely different, calmer, stronger, harder to read. That change doesn't come from pretending. It comes from truly detaching, from taking your heart out of her hands and putting it back where it belongs, inside your own chest. This is where Stoicism quietly steps in. It teaches you that your power is in how you respond, not in how hard you try to control someone else. Chasing tells her she still has you. Pulling back reminds her she could lose you. There's something incredibly magnetic about a man who no longer operates from fear. When she senses you're no longer emotionally dependent on her attention, something inside her shifts. She feels the loss of control, the absence of your energy, the silence of the man who once poured everything into her. And women notice these shifts deeply, even if they pretend not to. When your energy changes, she feels it before she sees it. And that's when the dynamic flips. Instead of you chasing her validation, she begins to question why the attention she was so used to suddenly disappeared. That uncertainty opens the door for her to return, not because you forced anything, but because you created space for her to see what life feels like without your presence. Your transformation, your stability, your calmness, your ability to stand on your own becomes a kind of gravity. And this gravity doesn't pull because it is loud, emotional, or desperate. It pulls because you've stopped chasing altogether. You've turned back toward your purpose, your growth, your path. A man who is building himself becomes a man worth returning to. A man who clings becomes a man she avoids. You don't have to announce your healing. You don't have to post your progress. You don't have to prove anything. You simply have to act from a place of self respect, and that alone shifts the dynamic more than any speech or message ever could. The moment you truly let go, not as a strategy, not to provoke a reaction, but because you finally understand your worth, is the moment she starts feeling the pull. She remembers the comfort you brought. She remembers the security she felt. She remembers the moments she took for granted. But now she can't have easy access to you, and that alone changes everything because she's not coming back to the man who chased, she's coming back to the man who grew. So when she returns, it's never random. It's a response to your evolution, to your silence, to your newfound strength. When your energy changes, so do your outcomes. Your growth becomes the message she can't ignore, and your detachment becomes the moment her pride finally steps aside. Ending here is enough. Sometimes she comes back when you least expect it because distance forces her to confront something she managed to avoid while you were still around, the reality of losing you. While you were there, consistent, available, willing, she didn't have to truly face the weight of her decisions. Your presence created comfort, your attention created stability. Even if things were not perfect, she always knew you were there, emotionally, if not physically. But the moment you step away, not out of anger, but out of self respect, her mind begins to replay everything she once dismissed. She starts seeing what she failed to appreciate. She starts remembering the version of you she felt safest with. And this internal shift doesn't happen while you're chasing, it happens while you're silent. People don't feel the value of something until they feel the absence of it. That's not manipulation, that's human nature. When you stop giving her effortless access to your energy, she suddenly has space, maybe for the first time, to miss you, to rethink, to question, to feel. And the more she reflects, the more she realizes the emotional consistency you brought wasn't something she could easily replace. She may have left seeking clarity, excitement, or independence, but eventually she meets reality. Not every man brings the level of emotional safety and depth you offered. And when she discovers that gap, she starts recognizing the value you carried quietly. It's during this time that her pride becomes her biggest enemy. Pride tells her not to reach out. Pride tells her you should be the one to come first. Pride tells her admitting she misses you means admitting she made a mistake. But time has a way of humbling even the most stubborn hearts. The longer she sits with her thoughts, the heavier silence becomes. She replays the moments she pushed you away. She remembers the patience you showed. She notices the parts of you that no one else seems to match. And slowly, pride begins to crack, not because she wants control again, but because she starts feeling what she avoided, the emotional bond she tried to overlook. And here's the ironic part: she won't come back because you waited. She won't come back because you were hurting. She won't come back because you tried to convince her. She comes back because you stopped trying. Because the moment you reclaimed your emotional independence, you changed her internal narrative. Now she's not thinking, he'll always be there. She's thinking, what if he's not? That's the moment fear replaces pride. And fear is far more powerful than ego. This process doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, quietly, often without you knowing. But when she finally reappears, it's because silence forced her to face what she tried to outrun. The truth that losing you hurts more than staying proud, and that's where the dynamic truly shifts. Ending here is enough. There's a strange thing that happens when you finally stop chasing, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it before. Your energy changes, your presence shifts. You move from a man who needed validation to a man who creates his own validation. And whether she admits it or not, she feels that shift instantly. This is the moment when your silence stops being a reaction and starts being a message, one she can't ignore, one she can't downplay, one she can't escape. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it hits deeper than anything you ever said to her. When you elevate yourself, not for her, not to win her back, but because you're tired of betraying your own potential, something powerful happens. The emotional dynamic reverses. Now she starts paying attention to the things she once dismissed. She sees the confidence in your new boundaries. She notices that you're not waiting by your phone, not watching her stories, not lingering in the same emotional space she left you in. And this makes her rethink everything, because whether she left out of confusion, frustration, or pride, she expected one thing, that you'd stay emotionally anchored to her. But when you don't, when you grow instead, her assumptions collapse. There comes a point where she begins questioning her own choices. She starts wondering if she misjudged you, if she walked away from something rare, something solid, something she may not find again. This isn't guilt, this is realization. She remembers your patience, your stability, the way you listened, the effort you gave without asking for applause. And now she compares that to the world she entered without you, a world that doesn't offer the same depth, the same loyalty, the same quiet strength. Your growth becomes a mirror for her. It reflects not just who you are becoming, but who she lost. And here's the truth: most men don't understand. Women don't come back because you beg, they come back because you evolve. They come back because the man you're becoming is even more attractive than the man they once knew. Growth creates gravitational pull. When you elevate your standards, your mindset, and your emotional discipline, you stop orbiting around her and start becoming a world of your own. And a man who has his own world is always magnetizing. That's why she reappears. Not because she suddenly gained clarity, but because your growth silently reminded her of what she underestimated. Your silence, combined with your evolution, forces her to confront a truth she never expected. She thought you needed her to become better, but you became better without her, and that realization shakes her pride more than any argument ever could. Ending the point here is enough. One of the most misunderstood dynamics in relationships is the way absence can magnify value. When a man stops being readily available, when he steps back and stops trying to fill the spaces she once expected him to occupy, it triggers a profound psychological response. This isn't about manipulation or gamesmanship. It's about natural human perception. When someone is always there, always accessible, always responding, they become ordinary in the eyes of those who take them for granted. Their presence loses its weight. But the moment you step away, the moment you stop meeting every expectation, the ordinary becomes extraordinary once again. Absence creates a contrast. Contrast highlights value. She begins to notice the little things she once dismissed, the calm you bring, the consistency you provided, the way you handled situations without drama. These qualities, once overlooked, now shine in the light of your absence. Silence and space give her the opportunity to reflect. She remembers moments she never fully appreciated because you were always there, always giving, always understanding. Now that space exists. She can no longer ignore the emotional debt, not in a punitive way, but as an awakening. She starts to see the depth of your character, the patience, the discipline, and the quiet strength that she might have taken for granted. She begins to realize the emotional comfort and stability you offered, things that cannot easily be replicated by someone new, the subtle energy you exuded when present, your self respect, and your ability to maintain calm and conflict start to become more visible. The contrast between the man you are and the men she may encounter now creates a natural pull. It's also important to understand that absence challenges her expectations. Many women unconsciously operate on the assumption that you will always be there. When that assumption is broken, it forces her to confront her own feelings and priorities. She starts to question her actions, her choices, and the reasons she allowed distance to grow between you. This reflection often brings clarity to emotions she may have suppressed, realizing that your presence was more significant than she understood at the time. The pause in communication allows her to see your life continuing, your growth, your focus on self improvement, and your emotional independence. This makes her curious, introspective, and sometimes even regretful, not because she is being punished, but because she is finally seeing reality from a new angle. The beauty of this dynamic lies in its subtlety. There's no need for dramatic gestures or desperate attempts to rekindle attention. The act of stepping back is powerful precisely because it demonstrates self respect, patience, and a focus on personal growth. These qualities are inherently attractive and they create an unspoken authority in your presence, or rather in your absence. By maintaining your standards, prioritizing your life, and giving her the space to reflect, you naturally create a gravitational pull. She begins to chase not out of obligation, not out of pressure, but because she recognizes something valuable that she may have once underestimated. Ultimately, this process transforms both of you. She is compelled to see your worth, and you reinforce your independence and emotional strength. Your absence communicates a message far more potent than words ever could. Ending the point here is enough. One of the most overlooked truths in relationships is that the moment you stop seeking validation from her, the moment you stop chasing, is the moment her perception of you begins to shift. When a man continuously pursues a woman, no matter how confident or stoic he might feel internally, externally he communicates a subtle message of dependence, an unspoken neediness that can diminish his perceived value. Women, like anyone else, are drawn to strength, self-possession, and independence. When that constant pursuit ceases, it creates a vacuum that naturally draws attention. Suddenly, you are no longer just another presence in her life. You become someone she notices, someone whose value she must reassess. This is not about manipulation, it's about creating space for reality to surface. When she sees that you are not reliant on her attention, that your life moves forward regardless of her actions, it triggers reflection. She begins to ask herself questions she never considered. Did I take him for granted? Did I fail to appreciate his consistency, his calm, his character? The absence of your constant attention forces her to confront her own feelings and realize what she might have overlooked. Moreover, this distance allows her to experience the consequences of her actions in a subtle yet impactful way. When you stop trying, she can no longer rely on your immediate availability. She feels the weight of your absence in daily life in the small moments that once went unnoticed. Your absence becomes a mirror, reflecting back what your presence had always provided, but she never fully acknowledged. It's in the quiet of this space that her mind begins to wander, revisiting memories, moments of care, support, and reliability that she once dismissed. She may start noticing the traits that made you stand out, the emotional stability, the respect you maintained for both yourself and her, and the rare quality of a man who operates with integrity without demanding constant affirmation. The psychological principle at work here is subtle yet powerful. Scarcity increases perceived value. The more accessible someone is, the less attention their qualities receive. But when a man steps back, when he maintains his boundaries and continues to live fully and authentically, his presence is no longer taken for granted. Every interaction, every brief connection now carries weight. She begins to reflect on her own behavior, her choices, and the reality of what losing you might truly mean. This reflection often brings clarity, not just about you, but about herself and what she truly desires. It sparks an internal dialogue about her priorities, about the kind of emotional stability and partnership she may have failed to nurture. Importantly, this dynamic strengthens you as well. By stepping back, you demonstrate emotional independence, self respect, and personal growth. You no longer chase for the sake of validation, but instead maintain your principles, your focus, and your life's trajectory. This natural balance of distance and authenticity creates an irresistible pull. She notices not just your absence, but the strength and composure you maintain during it. She begins to see the man she may have overlooked, a man who exists fully with or without her engagement. In the end, stopping the chase is not about punishment or games. It's about showing value through presence and absence alike, letting reality reveal itself, and allowing her to realize what truly matters. This alone changes the dynamic profoundly. The final key point revolves around the importance of patience and allowing time to work its quiet magic. When a woman experiences your consistent absence, she doesn't immediately understand the depth of what she has lost or the significance of your presence in her life. Change in perception is rarely instantaneous. It is subtle, gradual, and cumulative that passes without your constant attention, or pursuit chips away at the habits she once relied upon. The comfort of knowing you were always there, always accessible. In this space, she begins to confront her own emotions, her desires, and her regrets. She starts to notice the void your absence has created, and with it, an internal dialogue unfolds. She questions her choices, her actions, and perhaps the way she undervalued your character, your patience, and your authenticity. This is not something that can be rushed or forced. It must happen organically. By remaining patient, by giving her the time and space to reflect, you allow her to recognize your worth on her own terms without manipulation or pressure. Patience also works hand in hand with your own emotional growth. As you step back and allow time to play its role, you demonstrate mastery over your own emotions. You show that your happiness and fulfillment are not contingent on her attention or approval. This calm and composed approach is profoundly attractive because it contrasts sharply with the impulsive, reactive behaviors that many people exhibit in relationships. She sees a man who is steady, who values himself, and who is not dependent on fleeting emotional validation. This stability and self assurance create an undeniable presence in her mind and heart. Even in silence, your strength communicates volumes. It is a quiet yet powerful declaration of your character and principles. Furthermore, the passage of time allows memories to resurface in ways that constant interaction often obscures. She recalls moments of genuine connection, of care, and of respect that she may have overlooked in the immediacy of daily life. Absence gives perspective. The trivial annoyances, misunderstandings, or conflicts that once seemed significant fade, while the meaningful, supportive, and authentic aspects of your presence stand out. This reevaluation is crucial. It enables her to see not only what she may have lost, but also what she truly values in a partner. The more time passes, the clearer the contrast becomes between your composed independence and the reactive chaos she may have experienced elsewhere. In essence, patience allows her the mental and emotional space to rediscover the qualities that made you remarkable. Ultimately, giving time its due course underscores the principle that true respect and appreciation cannot be rushed. You are not manipulating feelings, you are allowing natural reflection to occur, demonstrating your worth through consistent behavior and emotional independence. The combination of your silence, your patience, and your steadfastness creates a powerful, almost magnetic influence. She comes to recognize the depth of your character and the value of your presence without being coerced or pressured. In the quiet of this process, clarity emerges, understanding solidifies, and appreciation grows organically. Time, patience, and unwavering self respect become the final catalyst, making her realize your worth in a way that no immediate reaction or superficial effort could achieve. This is the ultimate demonstration of your value.